Welcome to our class today where you are going to learn how to talk about yourself in English. And of course, you can use this in more formal situations like job interviews, but you can also use it in more casual situations like every time you meet new people or when you're traveling, which is things I know you want to do. So, why don't we get started right now? This is a class to help you learn how to talk about yourself. So, introduce yourself in the comments, and later on, I'll review the comments and I'll give you feedback on your introduction as well. And you'll learn a lot of new phrases, a lot of new expressions, a lot of new vocabulary that you can use to introduce yourself so your introduction can become more advanced and sound more fluent and natural. So, of course, a basic question when you're meeting new people: what's your name? What's your name? You know that question. So, to answer, you can say, "Hi, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you." So, notice this. I would use this in a professional situation as well. Hi. Hi, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So, generally, after you say your name, you can just add a nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. It's a casual thing. Now, you can also say, "Hi, my name's Jennifer. Nice to meet you." So, those are the two most common ways. You can use the verb to be, I am, I'm. I recommend using the contraction because if you say, "Hi, I am," it just sounds a little robotic. It sounds like a textbook. It doesn't really sound like the way a native speaker would say it. Simply using that contraction will make you sound more natural. I'm Jennifer. Exactly. Hi, I'm Irene. Nice to meet you. Wonderful. Hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Jennifer. Exactly. Or you can use my name is. My name is. Again, I do recommend that contraction and just say my names. My names. So it's like you're making the word name plural. Names. My name's Fabrice. My name's Fabrice. Hi, my name's Jennifer. Nice to meet you. Either one, I'm or my name's. All right. Awesome job, everyone. I feel like we're already getting to know each other a lot better. So make sure you participate in this lesson. What else? Let's say you have some name preferences or you have a really long name. And I know a lot of times my students, they use shorter versions of their names to help people who may not be familiar with it pronounce it more easily. So maybe you do that. You have a long name and then you shorten it, or you just prefer you prefer a different name. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. So that's what a native speaker would say. I have something in my throat. And then you can just have a sip of water. So now you learn that natural expression as well. Okay, so hi, I'm Jennifer. And then you can just add on, hi, I'm Jennifer, but I go by Jen. Notice I'm using but in every single one because it helps you transition to the next idea. Okay, so it helps you introduce a contrast. The contrast is I just told you my name is Jennifer, but now I'm telling you a different name. So that's the contrast. So you can just use but to connect those ideas. Hi, I'm Jennifer, but I go by. I go by, and then whatever your name preference is, or you can call me. You can call. So, not on the phone. In this case, call is how they refer to you. You can call me, and then just the name. You can call me Jen. Or, but I prefer. So you can state this as a preference, but I prefer Jen. Or in a more casual situation, or when one you want to be sound more social and more friendly, you can say everyone calls me Jen. Everyone calls me Jen. So you're inviting other people to refer to you the same way that your friends, your family, your close people call you. So everyone calls me. Now notice you can call me because can is a modal verb. So then we have the base verb. But here, everyone is third person singular. Everyone, so that's why we have calls with an S. Everyone calls me Jen. Everyone calls me Jen. So here's a great one. I'm Shri Harish, but I usually go by Shri. Honestly, I would get rid of usually because that creates confusion. Because it's like saying 3 times when I meet you, let's say I meet you 5 times. 3 times I want you to call me Shri, but the other 2 times I want you to call me Shri Harish. So then I'm just wondering, well, how will I know when to call you Shri and how will I know when to call you Shri Harish? So that creates confusion. I would not include it, but I go by. Okay. All right. Here's a great one. I'm Renata, but everyone calls me Renee. So now I would say, oh, hi, Renee. Nice to meet you. But you can call me Fabi. Exactly. But I go by Kazi. Exactly. Awesome. Okay, so these are some great expressions. Now, if you don't have a short form of your name or an alternative name, you just don't use these expressions. Okay, just hi, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you. Now, of course, where are you from? Now, some students are already asking in the comments, are you from the US? Or what is your nationality? So this is what you can just ask someone. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? Okay, so I'm from Canada. So no, I'm not from the US, but I speak American English because in North America, we speak the same English. I'm from Canada. I'm from. So again, I recommend that contraction to sound more natural. I'm from Canada. I'm from Canada. Now, if I'm speaking to my international audience, I'm going to use the country. If I'm speaking to someone from North America, I'm going to use a more specific location. So I'm either going to use state or province, or I'm going to use city. If I'm speaking to someone who lives in my city, I may even use the specific neighborhood in my city. So, depending on how big or how small you want to go, just depends on who you're talking to. I'm from Canada. I'm from Canada. All right. I'm from South Korea. I was born and raised in Iran. Awesome. Awesome expression. I'm from Turkey, Sudan. Exactly. Pakistan, Haiti. Way to go. Like I said, guys, I recommend the contraction. I'm. If I'm right, you're from Winnipeg. Wow. Great memory. Great memory. Yes, that is correct. You are right. You are right. Okay. So I was born and raised. So one of my students already used that expression. Awesome job. This student said, Fabrice, hi, I'm from Burundi. How about you? Yeah, exactly. Sorry, it took me a second to read that, but it's correct. How about you? How about you? How about you? Very nice. Awesome. Okay, so to be born and raised. Now, notice it's in the past simple because, of course, this is a completed past action. Now, to use the expression born and raised, it means, of course, I was born in Winnipeg, but I also spent my childhood until adulthood in Winnipeg. So, Winnipeg, this is a city in Canada. It's known for being freezing cold. Okay, there's a fun fact for you. Freezing cold. This is where I became an adult. So that's what the raised represents. If you were born in Winnipeg, but then you moved away when you were 3 or when you were 5 or when you were 8, I wouldn't say born and raised because raised represents become an adult. And we generally consider ourselves adults. I don't know, it depends. I would say a minimum 15 and then maybe 15, 16, 17, 18. Those would be the time references that you spent to use this expression. All right. I'm from Poland, north part of the country. Exactly. You can be more specific, of course. Very nice. I was born and raised in La Paz. Exactly. And notice that pronunciation, born in, instead of and, born and raised. You can say born and raised, born and raised. Make it sound like one word, born and raised, born and raised, born and raised. Now, you don't have to do that if you feel just pronunciation, you're not at the ability, that's fine, born and raised, but just know that's how a native speaker will pronounce it. Okay. Yeah, grow up. So the verb to be raised and to grow up, they represent the same thing. But this is an expression. An expression is a group of words in a specific order that has a meaning. So you can say, I was born and raised in Winnipeg, or I grew up in Winnipeg. I grew up in Winnipeg. You can do that. Okay. Kazim, you wouldn't say this. You wouldn't use dwelling as the verb. You would say, I'm living. I'm living in Pakistan. I'm living in Pakistan. All right. Awesome job, everyone. So you can use your city or your country or your state, province, or even just say a specific part, like we heard the north part of Poland, for example. Let's keep going. So I'm just expanding onto this. So often we live in a global world. We move a lot more than we used to in the past. So you might want to talk about where you were born or raised or grew up and where you live now and how long you've lived in this current location. So the same sentence as before. I was born and raised in Winnipeg. Now, notice I'm using but, the same reason as before, because I'm introducing a contrast. I just told you I was born and raised in Winnipeg, but now I'm going to give you a different location. So that's the contrast. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, but now, so notice my verb tense is going to change to the present simple because it's a fact. But now I live in Ottawa. Now I live in Ottawa. So you live in a certain location. You were born and raised in a certain location as well. Now notice my next line. I'm saying how long? How long? Okay. I've lived here. Here represents Ottawa, the last place I said. I've lived here for over 10 years. For over 10 years. So maybe if you live somewhere for 11, 12, 13 years, you can just say for over 10 years. Now, if it is 13, 14, you might say for almost 15 years, for example. So you can use for over or for almost. Now, I put my verb tense in the present perfect. You can use the present perfect, or I could say I've been living here. So for the three verbs, live, work, and study, you can use both of them interchangeably. I find that native speakers tend to use the present perfect for live, work, and study. We generally try to be as short as possible, and it's easier to say I've lived rather than I've been living. But they're interchangeable. All right. So everyone practice in the comments. Kazim said, I've been living here for 5 years. Exactly. How long have you been living in Winnipeg, Ottawa, wherever, La Paz, wherever? Marta said, oh, I remember you go by Irene, I think. I was born and raised in La Paz, but now I live in Oruro. I've lived here for over 10 years. Awesome. Such a natural way of introducing yourself, sharing details about yourself, and think of all the different contexts you can use these phrases, and you'll feel really you'll feel really confident because you know you sound just like a native. Okay, and notice I use that contraction, and so did Irene as well. I've lived. I have lived. Native speakers use those contractions. I've lived. I've lived. I've lived here for over 10 years. I've been living here for 10 years. Great job using the contraction. I've been studying since 12. Exactly. I've been living here All my life. Exactly. Exactly. However, I've lived in Houston, Texas for over 20 years. Exactly. Exactly. Awesome job, everyone. Awesome. How about this one? So remember, we had 4 over 10 years. So you can use 4 number of years. You can just say 4 years. If you don't want to specify, but you want to make it sound like it's a long time, you can just say for years. For years. I've been living here for years. I've been working at my job for years. For years. So it sounds like a long period of time, even though you're not being specific. To not be specific, you could say for several, for many, or for a number of. If you use this last one, you need the article and the preposition. A number of years, several years, many years, a number of years. So those are alternatives you can use. I've lived here for several years. Exactly. And how long is several? There is no agreed upon number. It sounds more than 2, but other than that, I don't really know how long several years is. I would have to just ask. I've been living here for over 23 years. Yeah, exactly. Now, because 23 is very close to 25, you can also say for almost 25 years. For almost 25 years. I've been living here for over 10 years. Exactly. So over means more than. It could be 11, 12, 13, 14 even. Yeah, you could simply say, I've lived here for a long time, for a long time, for a very long time. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so now our next question. What do you do? What do you do? This is how a native speaker asks about your job, your work, your employment. This is what we say. What do you do? So, what do you do? So, what do you do? I know your name. I know where you're from. I know where you live now. The next question is your job. So, what do you do? So, what do you do? Put it in the chat, put it in the comments. So far, I see some nice answers. I'm a teacher. Now, keep in mind, you can use these same expressions that we've already learned. Talk about how long you've been a teacher for, and you can use some of these time references as well. So keep that in mind. I'm a software engineer. Awesome. Awesome. I'm an economist. Exactly. I'm a student. Very nice. I'm between jobs. What does this mean? I'm between jobs. Excellent, Mirik. That's perfect. Very natural. What does it mean? I'm a dentist. I'm a household worker. Worker. I'm a household worker. I'm a caregiver. I'm an assistant manager. You need an, because you need an article with job titles, and your job title starts with a vowel sound. An. I already saw these. I work as an interpreter. Exactly. Exactly. I've been teaching English for almost 3 years. Exactly. I love it. Well done. I'm a welder. I'm an engineer. Ear, not the ing form. It's not a verb. It's a noun. Engineer. I'm a student and a hairstylist. Exactly. I'm a YouTuber. Yeah. You should spell YouTube correctly. So this is not something a native speaker would say. How we say it is, what do you do? What do you do? You can add on, what do you do for a living? But most native speakers will not say that. We will just say, what do you do? What do you do? Okay, so before we move on and talk about that, I have this free speaking guide for you. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. So you can go to my website and just click on this link to download it, jforrestenglish.com, enter your name and email, and this will be emailed to you, and it's absolutely free. All right. Now, if you're enjoying this lesson, put yes, yes, yes. I certainly enjoy learning more about all my students. And if you're enjoy learning all these natural expressions, put yes, yes, yes in the comments. Of course, like this lesson, subscribe as well. All right. I'm a technician. I've been working as a nurse. Yes, I'm a lawyer. Awesome. Woohoo. Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm a scientist. Love it. Love it. Love the emojis as well. Woohoo. Thank you so much, Kazim. Awesome, everyone. I'm so glad. Thank you. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm your lesson watcher. The best. Thank you. Oh, thank you, everyone. All right. I'm a veterinarian. Awesome. I'm a vet. Native speakers hate saying this word. We just say vet. I'm a vet. I'm a virtual assistant. Awesome, everyone. Love it. Okay, let's keep going. I'm an English teacher. Okay, so everyone did such a great job because a lot of the time I don't see an article. So they just say, I'm engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer because engineer starts with a vowel sound. So you need an, and then your job title, whatever that is. Now, here we go. I'm a software engineer. So here, now it's no longer engineer. It's the specific type. So software starts with a consonant. So we don't use it. So Mac, you use an because you have accountant. Let's say you added a small business accountant. I don't know if that's a thing, but then you now have a because it's the next word small starts with S. So remember, you might have to change it because I would say I'm a teacher. I'm an English teacher. So just remember that. Okay, now you can add on, I work for, and then you can name maybe the name of a company if it's well known, or just the type of company. An international company that notice this, that specializes in. Now you can specialize in something such as data management, that specializes in data management. And notice you need that S on specialized because it's international company, which is singular. And then maybe you give just a simple fact about your job or about your company. Our head office is in Chicago. Now, maybe you're talking to people in Chicago or near Chicago. So it's just an interesting piece of information to provide. So you don't have to expand with this specific information. Maybe your company doesn't have a head office, for example, but just think of how you can expand rather than just saying, I'm a teacher, I'm an accountant. Can you expand on that? So try that again for everyone who said, like Salvador, I'm a flight attendant. Can you expand on that? Where do you usually fly? What airline do you work for? Where are you based out of? Where's the last place you flew? How long have you worked there? So just, you don't have to answer all of those questions, but see if you can provide one more piece of information about your job, just to make it sound more interesting than simply saying, I'm a flight attendant. But don't worry, that's fine. That's how most native speakers also introduce themselves. We're just expanding on this. Okay. I see someone expanded. Naeem. I'm a software engineer. I work for an international company that specializes in freelance service. Excellent. And maybe you could say, I work for a local company. I work for a small company. I work for a startup. I work for a tech company. I work for an education company. So you could expand on that in any way you want. Our head office is in Palo Alto, California. Awesome. Very nicely said. Very nicely said. Okay. I'm a network engineer working for the biggest networking company in the Middle East. I love that. Awesome. That sounds really nice. Let's keep going, everyone. Oh, here we go. I'm a vet that specializes in small animal medicine. Exactly. What a nice thing to say. Just giving that one more piece of information makes it sound more fluent, more advanced, but also now everyone in the comments, think about how you might be interested to ask a follow up question or to learn more. Oh, what type of small animals? Oh, what type of medicine? Who was the last animal or what was the last animal you treated, for example? I'm an anesthesiologist nurse. I work for a small hospital in our town. Exactly, exactly. I'm an English teacher. I've been teaching. Okay. I've been teaching for 10 years because ago means in the past. So if it is in the past, then everything you would have to change to the past. I've been teaching for 10 years at La Source. Our head office is in Haiti. Awesome. Okay, how about this? I'm a forensic accountant. Now, here, notice I said so essentially, so basically, because imagine someone just said to you, I'm a forensic accountant. Would you know what that is? Honestly, I don't really know what a network engineer is. One of the students said that. So, a lot of these job titles, it's like, okay, what is that? What do you do? I understand the words, but I don't really know what this job requires. So, if that's the case, you can say so essentially, so basically. These words are used to summarize. So, essentially, I analyze. Now you're giving the main task that you do, the most important task, the task that you want people to know you for. I analyze financial records to find any signs of fraud or error. So, this is what you do. Okay, so this is a great phrase. So, you state what you do, and then, or you state your job title, and then you very briefly state what you do to help people understand. Because when I introduce myself and I say, I teach English on YouTube or I work with students online, most people don't understand really what that is. So I generally tell them a little bit more about what I do. Here is one. I work as an interpreter at technology fairs in Bogota. In fact, this week I'm going to a solar energy fair. I love it. What an interesting way of expanding. And now someone can ask you, oh, wow, where is the fair? Are you presenting? What type of speakers will there be? And you can have lots of follow up questions as well. I'm a social researcher. So essentially, I collect data to write reports. Exactly. Exactly. Awesome job. I love it. I'm a business manager specializing in HR administration. So you can, because you don't repeat the subject, if you want to just have a comma, you would have your verb in ing, specializing in HR administration. Otherwise, you can create two sentences. I'm a business manager. I specialize in HR administration. But in the ed form, it's the past simple, but you're still a business manager. So you would use the ing. I'm a pharmacist. I analyze chemical documentation of drugs before marketing. Uh, I don't know what that word is, to be honest. Something process. Awesome. Good to know. I'm a dentist, but now I'm retired. I love this. So to be retired, you could say I was a dentist because if you use I am, it means you currently are. So the present simple only describes your current position. If you're no longer in that position, you would use the past simple. I was a dentist, but now I'm retired. You could say, I worked as a dentist for over 15 years. I specialized in braces. I don't know the technical term for that. I'm sure there's a dentist term for that. I specialized in whatever you specialized in. Notice it's in the past. I specialized in, but now I'm retired. So you can still expand on that, or you can focus on, but now I'm retired. So I spend my days learning English. I spend my days in my garden. I spend my days playing golf. Those are stereotypical things retired people do. All right, let's keep going. Everyone try this because gerund statements are such a powerful way to make your sentences sound more advanced and also add on additional information. So you have your job title. I'm a dentist. I'm an English teacher. I'm a forensic accountant. I'm a software engineer, whatever it is. And then you can make a gerund statement, which means you start with your verb in ing and you're making a general statement. So you could say being an engineer is rewarding. You can use the verb to be because you are an engineer. You can also use to work as, but notice your verb is in ing. Working as an accountant for a small startup is challenging. So you're making a general statement. So this is an advanced way to add on information. Martine, being a vet makes my life very rewarding. Exactly. I love it. Being a doctor might be exhausting sometimes. Nice. Very nice. I'm a sociologist. Being a sociologist is rewarding. Exactly. Very nice. Being a tax preparer is challenging, especially at tax time, especially in April, which is tax time in my country. So you could add on. Very nice. Awesome. Being an engineering student is interesting. Exactly. Very nice. Oops. So being a student is all great. Okay, so being a student is, you just want an adjective. So all great is incomplete because now you need a noun because great is an adjective, but articles go with nouns. So all you need to do is get rid of a in before great. Being a student, a is the article with student, it's required, is adjective, is great, is rewarding, is challenging, is expensive, is stressful, whatever it might be. Is difficult sometimes. Exactly. I'm a nurse. Working as a nurse is hard but rewarding. I love it. Very nicely said. Let's keep going. So maybe you could talk about something you enjoy. I enjoy, and now your verb in ing. I enjoy collaborating with my team and brainstorming unique solutions to complex problems. So notice here I underlined two adjectives. Adding adjectives is a very easy way to sound advanced. Is one of the easiest ways you can expand onto your sentence is add an adjective. And adjectives modify nouns. So if you have a noun, here I have solutions and problems. I have two nouns. So now I just need to think of how to modify those nouns. And you can do that with adjectives. All right, so try that. You can say, I enjoy something, And then think of a way you can add adjectives. Oh, here we go. This is a more advanced one. Here we're looking at transition words. So, transition words, we already talked about them. We saw but, which is a very basic transition word. So, they show how ideas are connected. So here you can introduce a contrast. So, however, you're going to introduce a contrast to what you just said. And then specifically, you're going to make a specific point. So here you're providing a specific point about how being an engineer is challenging. So your specific point is how you have to work around the clock to meet tight deadlines. So tight is the adjective that modifies deadlines. Now, to work around the clock, this is an expression, and it means to work continuously without stopping. So you just keep working and working. That clock is going around and around, and you're still working. Okay, this is a nice sentence. I enjoy writing short stories, which I find extremely relaxing. Very nice. Now, you could use specifically and then talk about a specific story you enjoy writing or a specific reason why you find it relaxing, or you can use however, and you can provide a contrast. So in this case, you need something negative because your main point is positive. So we need something negative to contrast it. Being a good truck driver isn't easy. Yeah, exactly. So now this is a negative point. So if you used however, you would have a positive point. Or you could say specifically, and you can provide a specific reason why being a truck driver isn't easy. All right. So practice that in the comments and we'll keep going. Now, remember, someone said they were retired. So we talked about you might want to speak about a previous job. So maybe you worked as a dentist, an accountant, a lawyer, whatever, a kite surfer instructor for a period of time. And then you no longer work in that position. And now you either are doing something else, you're studying, you're finding a new job, whatever that might be. So that's a very common situation as well. So you might say, I was an accountant for over 10 years. Okay. Or maybe you left to raise a family. That could be the reason why. So, women, when you talk about how you're now taking care of your kids, were you doing something before? Because you can talk about that. So, you have to use your verb to be in the past. I was an accountant for over 10 years, but so our transition, but a few years ago, so 3, 4 years ago, I left, which means I left my job as an accountant. I left my company. I left to pursue a career in. So to pursue a career in, now journalism is the industry. You could also say to pursue a career as, and then the job title, as a journalist. So in journalism, journalism is the industry, as a journalist. So that's the job title. Okay, so that represents if you are in a transition. Or you can say, I used to be, because remember, we use I used to be, this sentence structure, we use it for a routine action in the past. I used to be an accountant, but I recently became certified as an English teacher. So now this implies that you're going to teach English. Okay. I was a reporter for 5 years, but I decided to leave it to pursue a career in fashion. Excellent. Excellent. Very nicely said. I was a junior specialist for 6 years, but recently I got a promotion. Exactly. Congratulations on your promotion. And then you can say, now I am, and then whatever your title. Now I'm a senior specialist, or now I'm a project manager. You can use it, but this sentence structure doesn't require it. So you could say, but I left it to pursue a career in journalism. Honestly, it sounds better to not include it because it's not required. But I left to pursue a career in journalism. It isn't required. I was a teacher for 10 years, but I decided to pursue a new career as a pilot. Excellent. It sounds so advanced, so natural, exactly the way a native speaker would say it. Really nicely done. I used to be a construction worker, but I left to pursue a career as a developer. Exactly. Construction worker. I'm so glad you enjoyed the live lessons. Mario, I'm glad you said this. Okay, so instead of I left for retirement, it would sound more natural to say, but last year I retired. Retired. So it's the verb to retire, to retire. And you're putting that in the past simple. But last year I retired. I retired, which means you permanently left the labor market. I was a sales manager for 40 years, but last year I retired. I retired. And now I spend my days, and you can fill that in. I was a dentist for over 30 years, but 2 years ago, I moved to the United States, the United States, the USA, the USA. Awesome. I was a truck driver, but 2 years ago, I left to pursue a career in the casino industry. Exactly. Well done. Awesome, everyone. Very nicely done. I used to work in a dental office, but now I'm a full-time mom. Exactly. Okay, let's keep going. Now, we already reviewed some of these, but I'll just quickly go through them. So, if you're not employed, I'm between jobs. This is how a native speaker would say, I do not have a job. A native speaker would not say, I do not have a job. And they certainly wouldn't say, I'm jobless, although students say that a lot. I'm currently between jobs. I'm currently exploring career opportunities. I'm in a career transition. So these are the ways that a native speaker would say, I do not have a job. Or if you're in school, you can say, I'm studying to become a nurse or whatever it is. I'm in the final year of law school or whatever type of program you're in. And you don't have to say final year. You can say, I'm in the first year. I'm in my second year. I'm in the third year, whatever it is. Now you could say, I'm a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home mom. I'm a homemaker. I'm a homemaker. The term housewife is considered outdated. In 2025, native speakers don't use it. It's just one of those things. Our comfort level with certain words evolves and changes. And now that word is considered outdated. And we say stay at home mom or housemaker or homemaker. Housemaker, homemaker, it doesn't really matter. Or we already talked about this, I'm retired. Or you can say, I retired 5 years ago. So remember, the verb is to retire. So in the past simple, I retired 5 years ago. Okay, I'm studying to become a scientist. Exactly, very nicely. I'm currently exploring career opportunities. Exactly, exactly. Very nicely done. So these are alternatives you can use if you don't have a job title. Let's keep going, everyone. How about we'll move on? We've talked about work, we've talked about where you're from. Let's move on. And you can tell me about your hobbies. Oh, the fun part. What do you want to talk about? So, share if someone just said to you, tell me about your hobbies, what would you say? So, share that in the comments. Here's I'm a table game dealer. So you just need your article. I'm a dealer. What type of dealer? I'm a table game dealer. However, I'm currently studying to become a tax preparer as a side hustle. Very nicely done. I'm in a career transition. Exactly. Exactly. Very nicely said. Or I'm a homemaker. Very nice. I'm currently studying construction, but I want to change my career. Exactly. I haven't even started yet, but I already don't like it. Exactly. Why not? I'm you need into, I'm into kite surfing. So if you're into, it means you enjoy it. Exactly like Helena said, I'm into running. You can say, I'm really into running. I'm an eager downhill skier. I don't know if you want eager. I mean, isn't grammatically it's correct, but it's not really something a native speaker would say. I'm an eager downhill skier. I probably wouldn't say eager. I have several hobbies, but I can narrow down in writing, but I can narrow them down to my favorite one, which is writing. So you need a little work on that sentence. Okay, I like cycling. Exactly. I'm really into. Exactly. Exactly. I'm into mountain biking. Very nice. I'm into swimming. Use your contraction. I'm into swimming. Exactly. Okay. I love. So you can just use a simple I love. I love and then the activity in the ing form. And then you could add on in my spare time, on weekends, after dinner, whenever the time reference is. So you can expand on that just by simply providing the time reference. I love drawing in my spare time. I spend all my free time. You need the verb in ing. I spend all my free time kite surfing, or whatever it might be, jogging, running, making origami, or I draw. So now this is just your activity. So drawing is the activity here, but it's in the present simple because now it's just a routine action. I draw for 30 minutes every night after dinner. So I kite surf for 2 hours every Saturday morning. I make origami every day on my lunch break, whenever it might be. Okay, so share some of your hobbies and see if you can share a time reference as well. Now, maybe this is the student that wanted to use eager. Maybe this is what you were remembering from a previous lesson. I'm an avid. So you can say avid. So if you're an avid, so to be an avid. Avid is an adjective, but you need a noun. So this article belongs to the noun. But because avid starts with a vowel, you need an. I'm an avid, and then whatever the noun is. But you can't have an activity. You can't say, I'm an avid kite surfing, because surfing in the ing, that's the action. You need the noun form, kite surfer, surfer. I'm an avid kite surfer. And if you're an avid kite surfer, it means you have a strong interest, enthusiasm, or passion for it. So it sounds like you enjoy it a lot more than someone who just says, "Oh, I love jogging." If you say, "I'm an avid jogger," it sounds like you're more dedicated to this and you're really passionate about it as well. Yeah, I'm an avid runner. Nice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could say, I'm eager to go skiing, which means I really want to. I'm eager to go skiing because I'm an avid skier. So you can use eager, but not in the context you did. All right. I'm an avid reader. Very nice. Wow, you read each other's minds. I'm an avid reader. I'm an avid learner. Exactly. Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. There's lots of runners in the group. Let's keep going. Now, remember, we talked about a gerund statement. With your hobbies, this is such a great way of, of expanding on it. So, I'm an avid kite surfer. I'm an avid skier. I'm an avid reader, whatever it is. Now, make a gerund statement, which means you're going to make a general statement about that activity. So you can say skiing, surfing, reading, running, origami, making, gives me. Notice you have gives because the activity is third person singular. Third person singular. If you had two separate activities, then it would be plural and you would say give, they give. But this is it. It gives me the opportunity to disconnect from my devices and appreciate the beauty of nature. So you don't have to reuse any of this sentence structure, but you're just starting with a gerund. And remember, if it's one activity, it's third person singular. So your verb needs to have that S on it in the present simple. Okay, so running gives me the opportunity to reset my mind. Exactly. You don't have to say gives me the opportunity to. You can use whatever language you want, but if you don't know what to say, you can certainly modify this sentence structure. Writing gives me the opportunity to relax and forget about all the bad things that surround me. Exactly, exactly. What a powerful way of explaining why you enjoy this activity. So remember, Manuel, learning languages, even though you see this S on languages, your verb or your subject is learning, which is it. It lets me travel every now and then on account of getting a real immersion in linguistics. Yeah. But just remember your gerund statement is singular. Unless you have two separate activities, then it would be plural. Driving gives me the opportunity to reset my mind and have more great ideas. Exactly, exactly. And instead of have more, maybe you can say and brainstorm great ideas. Lifting weights helps me clear my mind. Exactly. I love it. I love it. Doing exercises refreshes me and sharpens my mind. So you have and, you need the S on both verbs. So refreshes me, sharpens my mind. Cycling gives me the opportunity to have physical exercise, no awe, to have physical exercise and appreciate the beauty of nature. Wonderful. Love it. Okay, so maybe you don't have any activities. So you might say, until now, my focus has been on my career, my family, on school, on graduating. So whatever the reason why you don't have any activities or any hobbies, because not everybody has time, right? So explain why. Now you can say, however, I'm considering. Considering is just another way of saying I'm thinking about, and then taking up, and then whatever the activity is. So to take up an activity is when you start that activity. So you start it as part of a new routine. So you don't just do it once. If you take up salsa dancing, it sounds like you're going to do it every single week. Now, consider is a gerund verb, which is why you have taking up in the ing. So considering is an ing because it's I'm considering. It's the present continuous. But the verb consider is a gerund verb, which is why we have another ing after that. Now, until now, my focus has been to be on my career. So this is in the present perfect because it started in the past and it continues until now. So this is why you currently don't have a hobby, but you can still talk about what hobby you would like to do. Now, instead of I'm considering taking up salsa dancing, you might say, however, I'd love to take up salsa dancing if I had time, or other expressions as well. So this will be our last expression we'll practice. So everyone practice this. Even if you do have a hobby, you can still practice this sentence structure as well. So remember, you need the gerund verb after consider. I'm considering beginning. I don't know what joining, maybe you meant jogging, beginning jogging. Until now, I have focused on my studies. So you can use the active verb, I have focused on my studies. However, I'm considering learning a language. Exactly. Very nice. Nicely done. And here, I love to meditate early in the morning. Nice time reference. I love this. I have dogs. Walking my dogs has given me the opportunity to appreciate nature. Oh, I love that. Until now, I've been too busy. I'm considering spending more quality time with my family. Exactly. Yeah, very nice. Until now, I was overworked, but thanks to a change in my career, I plan to take up yoga. Very nice. Very nice. And you don't need classes, you can just take up the activity. So take up yoga. Take up yoga. Really nicely done. I love it. I'm considering meditation. Yeah. So you can consider a noun. So meditation is a noun. If you had a verb, it would be an ing. So I'm considering meditating. Meditating. Until now, my focus has been on getting my tax preparer certificate. However, I'm considering making up a podcast show on TikTok next year. Exactly. Very nice. Very nice. I'm considering taking up cello. Very nice. Playing cello or just cello. Very nice. Awesome, everyone. I've been focused on my burning desire. Exactly. Oh, thank you, Manuel. Yes, exactly. Hit that like, hit that like. Until now, my focus has been on my family. Exactly. You don't always have to talk about work. You have other interests like your family. My focus has been on my family. However, I'm considering taking up Pilates. Exactly. So, Pilates is the activity. Yeah, just stop considering, do it. How long have you been considering this? Just do it. Exactly. Well said. Well said. All right, everyone. This was such a fun class. I hope you had fun as well. And remember, you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can get this on my website. Just go to jforrestenglish.com. and you'll see the information where you enter your name and email, and then this will be emailed right to you as well. And I share my best tips and advice here. Now, also, did you enjoy this lesson? Do you want more lessons where we talk about natural things like introducing yourself, where you work, your hobbies, things like that? If you do, put yes, 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 yes. Share your suggestions for future lessons in the comments as well. And of course, like this lesson so I know you like it. This is the best way you can say thank you is by liking that or pressing that like button, liking this lesson. Also subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson and so you know when I go live as well. Share this with your friends, tell your friends to subscribe, tell your friends to comment and like it as well. And thank you very much, Rena. Woohoo, everyone. Thank you so much. I am so glad. Oh, that's okay. You can watch the replay. And then I'll see you next time. And I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Woohoo. Awesome. Yes. Smash that like button. Smash it, hit it, crush it. All right, everyone. Have fun using these expressions. Practice speaking, practice, practice, practice. And I'll see all of you in my next lesson. Bye.